We have arrived in Erebor while looking into the story of From and what happened to Scatha's teeth. Now, I do recall some incident relating to Scatha's teeth earlier when we were tracking down Karazgar, so who knows what's happened in the intervening years. The emissary also bore a message. It reads, "Jewels such as these you will not match in your treasuries, for they are hard to come by." Hmm. Yes, that is quite an interesting way to word it. What do you think about the inside?
It is said that when Thrain received the gift of Scatha's teeth, he was furious.
Thrain believed From's missive to be a taunt, and would not be moved even by the Grey Wizard's most cunning words. He cast the necklace aside, proclaiming that such trinkets were poor substitutes for his people's birthright, and sent Wandalb away. Interesting. Most interesting. Of old my folk battled beasts that would take the worm you bore these fangs, even seem no more than a threat than an adder. Go back to that upstart Rick and tell him that the gold he clutches is weregild to the kings greater than he and I wherever shall be. Ooh, Thrain did not like that.
Wandab remained at Erebor for weeks afterward, pleading for Thrain to see reason.
The Dwarf King never again spoke to Wandab or counted him as a friend. It was a dark time. It makes me wonder if the necklace was cursed. Well,
Do you suppose that Scatha's necklace is still in Erebor after all these years?
is the necklace still here? Or did Thrain throw From's missive out of the hall? Well, I encountered the necklace once before, or at least a part of it. The missive had indeed been kept by Thrain and left forgotten in Erebor until I had come to the Dalelands recently. I suggest that you visit Frothy the Lore Master in Erebor, as he's well versed in the history of Scatha the Worm. Oh, fascinating! I knew that you were the right warden to call upon. I thank you for the story, my friend. Come, let us speak with this Lore Master Frothy. All right, let's go and have another talk with Frothy. Hello, Frothy. We're investigating the history of From and Scatha.
Ah, it is good to see you again.
Your friend Lethred searches to pen the true tale of Scatha and From. Do not think me rude, but I would say if a man or dwarf were to pen this tale alone, it would not be the truth. The history of that man and worm still pains both of our peoples. Perhaps then we should all work together? I myself have always been puzzled with the written history of Scatha and From. If there is more to the story, and I would expect there to be, then what is to stop us from finding it? I will accompany you if you'll have me. I will bring with us what remains of the necklace. I should warn you, though, our journey will most likely have to take us to the Grey Mountains, where From's body was found. We will be at the doorstep of war. Don't worry, I was inside of it. I was inside that war, so I'm already familiar with it.
Working together may be the best way to complete the tale of Scatha.
It may help us not only to complete the tale, but it may also strengthen the bond between dwarves and men. Frothy, your knowledge will be most valuable. I would be honored if you were to accompany us on this journey. Let us depart for Scarhold, where we are all ready to leave. Yes, let us go to Scarhold. Ah, we made it.
We should be careful going forward, my friend.
The dwarves that gather at Scarhold do so for war. Aye, a conflict is certainly coming with Gundabad. Yes, I've been there. We should gather what supplies we need and prepare for what lies ahead. A great deal of trouble, if you ask me. We've got a dragon running about. Oh, we've got the orcs stuck inside Gundabad. We've got Durin stuck outside of Gundabad. We've got trenches all over the place. Well, maybe we'll be to the east of the trenches. Well, let's gather some supplies so that we can all be ready. I gathered as much as these dwarves can spare.
Thank you for gathering these much-needed supplies.
These supplies will be crucial in our search for truth. Our journey is about to bring us ever closer to conflict. I believe that we are all in agreement to press on. Yes, I will be willing to press on. And if you guys are going to press on, I better, because you'll need my help.
Frothy has told me that the dwarves march into Elderslade.
That's right. While we all search to discover the truth between From and Scatha, perhaps we should look more closely at how From's death affected the Athuda. We may uncover some hidden truths in our search. Frothy has told me that the dwarves marched on Elderslade and have established a fortified post there. Elderslade so happens to be where From's body was found those many years ago. For it is for that fact alone that we must march with the dwarves. Very well. To Anak Khufu? Well, yes, I know the place well. Based on reports I've heard, it looks like the stalemate continues. There are a few straggler Gundabad forces out and about, but other than that, they seem to be holed up at the moment.
While we are here, we should assist the dwarves as best we can.
Yes. Perhaps you should defeat some of those straggler forces that we have encountered on our travels together. Now, Frothy, where was I on From? Ah, yes, From's death. From's death brought new troubles for the Ithuda. It stirred the orcs of the north, who had feared him, and though he left 3 sons, none were yet of age. The eldest, Yefika, was only 10 when he succeeded From. The hordes of Gundabad seized upon the Athuza's lack of an adult lord and caused much strife in the wells for many years. From's 2 elder sons died in battle with the orcs. Yefika died of an ambush when he was only 25 years old. Then his brother Gundamari just a year later on a reckless quest to avenge him. Well, that is typical. Alright, well, I'll go and see if I can find some of those stragglers. There's one of those stragglers now. Yep. I wonder if he knows that most of his buddies are currently trapped inside of Gundabad with a big ice cork on the doorstep. I don't know. Of course, they may also have some sort of plan going on in order to amend that. I've dealt with those stragglers for you.
Have you helped the dwarves in Elderslade? Good, good.
While you were away, we have been assisting the dwarves here at Anarkhufu. We've also managed to verse each other in what we know. There are still some gaps in the story, though, and something about that necklace does not sit right with us. Oh, what about?
We should begin our search in Elderslade with the necklace made from Scatha's teeth.
Since this is a relic of those days which we can closely examine, perhaps we can provide a clue of where Scatha hid. I am no expert on beasts, but to a trained eye, a beast's teeth may tell one much about the creature's eating habits and natural surroundings. Yes, I suppose that's possible. Perhaps you should take a closer look at the teeth, Pine Leaf. You have much more experience with beasts than either Frothy or myself. Well, it's usually killing them, but alright. I suppose I can have a look at this tooth. And I've been collecting dragon's teeth for other things. Well, there seem to be some markings on this tooth. Yeah.
Let me take a closer look at these markings.
Yes, I see that these markings are indeed carved. These markings are too precise to have been made from any battles the worm was in. For a moment, I'd wondered if this were a runic inscription, but I have studied much of Roy's Edda stone in Erebor, and these markings are not any form of dwarf writing. That much is certain. Oh, do you see this curved marking that is round indent in the center? It's different than the others, and if I am not mistaken, it looks exactly like the lake of Dvergvat here in Elderslade. I believe that this is a map. It is a crude map, but a map all the same. A map made of a dragon's tooth? Well, that's interesting.
This is a very exciting discovery.
If this map was carved by Fromm, it certainly changes how we should perceive the missive to the dwarves. With all the layers of dust on this tooth, I would say that the tooth had not been touched since Thrain discarded the necklace in some forgotten vault of Erebor. Now I have more questions than answers, as any historian should. What I don't know, however, is that we must follow this map. Oh, I do know, to where it leads. We should lead to the shores of Dvergvat as soon as we're ready. To Dvergvat's shores. Alright. And see what's there? I guess I can do that. Ah, I remember this place. I was here when I was searching for some old journal pieces. What's on this cairn? Well, that's pretty old.
Perhaps this is the starting point of the map.
Yes, we must now seek the second marking on this map. While we travel, I will continue to recall the tales of Fromm's legacy. I believe I had talked to of Gundamari. After Gundamari's death, the Lord fell to Fromm's youngest son, who had been just 5 years old when his father died. Yizihare, who had always seemed less hot-blooded than his brothers, proved to be the most fortunate of the siblings. Under his careful command, the Althuda pushed back against the orcs, winning several decisive battles before finally breaking them and slaying their chief in a great battle by Durgsvak, these very shores. Oh, interesting. So I'll go and follow the map and see where it leads us. The map seems to lead us this way. Well, we found a stone, but no cairn.
It worries me that we did not find a cairn or some sort of marking here.
Let us press onwards towards the next mark on the map in hopes that it leads us in the right direction. Sadly, Yizilhari met with tragedy himself soon after feasting his victory. Flushed with pride and plenty of ale, he declared his intent to name himself king of the Theuda. He sought out the Maris, announcing his intent to tame and ride one. The attempt ended in failure, and not for the last time amongst the masters of the Aethuda. Yes, you've told me several stories about the troubles of trying to tame the Maris. The Mara he chose threw him, and in his fall he broke his back. He was unable to walk afterwards, and he died at the age of 42, older than any lord of his people since Frimgar, but still far too young. Well, typical. This looks like the right direction if we're following it properly. Oh, well, this cairn has worn down quite over the years, but it seems to be similar to the first one.
Ah, another cairn. Similar to the one we found on the shores of Dvergvat.
It would seem that we are on the map after all. Oh, yes. Gundahare, Yisuhara's son, succeeded him and ruled unremarkably, but well enough. For the first time, the Althuda knew true prosperity in the wells, and they flourished, building many homes in Misthallow and grazing their herds across the floodfells and even into the valley of Mithrin. He died peacefully at 60, and he was succeeded by his son Gundarich. All right, well, at least somebody managed to survive for some time, and according to the map, the next location is this way. It looks like this one was worn down to a single stone again.
I believe that we are still on the trail. Let us continue.
Yes, Gundarich was an adventurous youth, and he had bragged that he would one day be the first man to enter the mountain hold and behold the wonders within. 2 years into his reign, he defied the warnings of his advisors, including his younger brother, Hildarich, the full road to Gundabad's gates, and was never seen again. He rode to Gundabad. Well, I guess I'm not one for saying that anyone who goes to Gundabad is a fool, considering some of my adventures. But then, let's find the next location. This is definitely another one of the cairns. See about this one. Whomever made the other cairns must have also made this one.
Thanks to Frothy for deciphering the map thus far.
Yes, we have not yet lost a trail. Yes, Hidarich became Lord of the Althuda after his brother's disappearance, though matters grew complicated 6 months later when Brunhilda, Guderich's widow, gave birth to a son. He called the boy Gundobad, a play on the name of the hall where his father had vanished. When he was born, Hildarich promised to cede lordship to him once he came of age. Alright, I suppose that's reasonable. Now for the next map location. This path seems to be infested with dragonkind. I suppose that might mean we're going in the right direction.
This pass is not on my map of Elderslade. Frothy, what of yours?
It looks like the map on Scatha's Tooth has led us to this rocky pass. Could this map lead to Scatha's cave, or even to his hoard? But there is one way to find out. First, let us rest for a moment. When Gundobad learned the meaning of his name and of his father's fate, a zeal awoke within him. He would succeed where Gundarich had not, and lead a host of Althuda to conquer Gundabad. Hilderich begged him to reconsider, but he refused. So when Gundabad was of age, Hilderich refused to honor his promise and remained Lord of Framabarg. So he decided he was not going to allow.
I am eager to return to following this map. What say you?
Songs sung among the Althuda call Hildarich a usurper, false and cruel, and even imply that he himself slew his brother to become the lord. I believe that Hildarich was in fact a prudent ruler, if not kind, serving his people nobly but unremarkably, rather than following the lust for glory. Well then, I'm eager to return to following the map. What do you say, Pineleaf? Alright, let's get going, and maybe we won't have to face every worm on the path. It appears we found another cairn, which means that we're on the right path. But will following this path bring us to anything other than more worms and drakelings? We'll have to find that out in the next episode of The Legacy of Durin.